Welcome back to Tom's Datsun Garage. Today, I'm going to feature my 1983 Datsun 200SX. This car was a hardtop, and it was a 5-speed manual transmission equipped car. It had hubcaps, it did not have alloy wheels, and it had cloth seats and interior. And these cars could be spec'd quite high. You could get them with leather interior and a sunroof and alloy wheels, and they were quite fancy. But this one was a lower trim model car, which was fine by me. I found this car through a friend who mentioned it was for sale for $50. He said it was a Datsun, but he didn't know what kind it was, or he wasn't familiar with it. So one day we went and checked it out, and I was like, yep, this is going to be my next daily driver. So I gave him the $50, and the car didn't run because the battery was dead and the alternator wasn't charging it. So I went home, took the battery out of my 82 Sentra, dropped it into this car, and drove it home on battery alone. It made it no problem. Once we got back to the house, I made a list of things that needed to happen before I could daily drive it. The clutch was starting to slip. It had the original plugs and wires and cap and rotor in it. The car had around 110,000 miles on it, and it was very, very still original. So I went through it and did the clutch, and I did the plugs, wires, cap, and rotor. The power steering pump had come apart at some point. The pulley and the bearing and input shaft on the pump were just missing altogether, so it had no power steering. I got a remanufactured power steering pump, put that back together, and got the car roadworthy. I started driving it every day. Put a new set of tires on it, and I did some other things to it to spruce it up a little bit, like I added a different type of steering wheel, and I put a CD player in it, which was, for me, that's like way huge back then, just having a CD player. I did some other things like a dash cover and another Datsun logo I put on the dashboard, and I really love this thing. This car ran and drove so good and so consistently. And I had it for about 5 or 6 years. And my brother was in body shop class at the high school at the time. So he offered to do the body and paint work on it. And I was like, yeah, okay, no problem. I mean, I could always, drive the Sentra again. But I had another plan in mind. I had a 1973 Datsun 240Z that I had acquired not long after getting this car. And I used that car as my daily driver, while this one was in the body shop at the high school. And my brother had this car for about, at least a year in the body shop. But once it came back, I had already bought a house, moved out of my parents' house. So when the car came back to my house, I had to put it back together with all the pieces and parts that I had moved from one house to the other. Nothing was missing. And I was able to fix the AC that was in it also and converted it over from R12 to R134A. It had a dealer-installed AC system from 1983, right when it was brand new. And it's an aftermarket system, so I had the hoses remade with the barrier-type hose for R134A. I added a pusher fan on front of the condenser. I also replaced some window seals that were worn on the rear quarter glasses. I also would put on an Adco sway bar to make it handle a little better. And I also had the windows tinted with the same type of tint that's on my 82 Sentra. But once I got the car put all back together from the body shop, it looked really, really, really good. And, I also had put in a new antenna mast. I think the original one finally let loose. But it all worked just like it was supposed to. It had a little button on the dash. You can raise and lower the antenna at any point. Got great reception, too. I would hope so, because the antenna went up like 50 feet in the air. But this car in the other markets is called a Silvia. So I made my license plate say Silvia because I thought it was very fitting. The coolest the car ever looked was right here when I took the 16-inch wheels that were Enki 92 mesh style wheels. They were 16 by 7s, zero offset. I took them off my first 240Z that I bought, my first 71 240Z, and put them on this car. And between these and the Adco sway bars, this car handled like it was on rails. It looked great. It was very reliable. But when I got my current 71 240Z, I swapped the wheels over right away and put the wheels that came on my 240Z onto my 200SX. So while it was being daily driven, it had these wheels on it most of the time. And I was driving at about 52 miles one way, so over 100 miles a day like this. And the car served me so well. Hardly had any troubles with it at all. Just minor things. I had a heater hose go on me once when I was on the highway. Got it back home, put new heater hoses on it. I had a radiator eventually go. I bought the last new radiator in the country. And I also had a U-joint start to go, and I bought the last new U-joint, or drive shaft assembly in the country from Nissan. I also replaced the dash clock in it at some point because it didn't work and I wanted it to work. And that car, everything on it worked, and worked brilliantly. The only reason why I stopped driving it was because I finally replaced it with another car. I got a white 1990 Nissan 240SX hatchback 5-speed. So this car was kind of sitting around for a while. I drove it a little bit here and there, and then I eventually sold it to my brother-in-law. I did see the car a few times after he had sold it. The last time I had seen it, it was heading north on US 1 in the Jensen Beach, Florida area, and it just took off from a red light, went north, and I watched it as it go out of sight. And that was the last time I saw it. Never saw it again. I hope this car is out there doing well. If they made these cars brand new, I would absolutely have no problem buying one and owning one. The harsh reality with Datsuns, and some of you fans out there may know, parts availability. They just did not... They're just hard to get parts for sometimes. They just really, really are. And if the parts sources were endless, I'd probably still have this car to this day. I just absolutely loved it. The engine was a 2.2 liter NAPS Z engine, NAPS N-A-P-S-Z, Nissan Anti-Pollution System. And I don't know what the Z was for, but it was a 2.2 liter engine. That car ran so good and consistent all the time. Now, it wasn't the fastest car on the planet by any means, but it didn't matter. It got great gas mileage, ran the same every day, day in, day out, never missed a beat. Well, that's going to do it for this video. Stay tuned for my next one when I talk about my first 240Z, my 1973, very rusty, 240Z. See you next time. Thanks for watching.